So, hello, and welcome to Chapter 2 of Keeping Corner. Now, I might not sound the best. I'm not sick, but I just don't sound as good as when I'm perfectly fine. My voice might sound weird. Just a warning. That's all that is. So, yeah. Without further delay, Chapter 2. Vasant had arrived, marking the beginning of spring. Every year at this time, we would put away heavy blankets, take out light cotton ones, give them a good shake, and spread them in the sun to get rid of the musty smell. All day, I ate puffed barley, a candy that Kaki had brought for the festival. The candy was white, flat as saucers, and came strung in a garland. Our community was going to light a bonfire at dusk in the temple courtyard. Since our house was right across from the Ramji Mandir, we didn't have far to go to enjoy the fire. One afternoon, after the festivities had died down, I watched while Kaki made a new silk cover for my blanket. It was made up of many shades of blue, from soft water to spring sky to dark rain cloud. When Ba came out of the kitchen, I pointed at the cover Kaki was making for me. "Isn't this beautiful, Ba?" A smile spread on Ba's face, but she was worried. "Won't all this pampering become a burden for Leela when she goes to her in-laws' house?" she asked Kaki. Kaki put the fabric down. Her eyes were commanding, and her voice was clear. "Ramanlal's mother will treat Leela like a daughter. She is quite attached to her, but even if she doesn't, let the girl enjoy herself. Childhood is short, so there is nothing wrong with making it sweet." While Kaki sewed, Ba and I finished airing the summer blankets and spread them on the cutlass leaves. When all the work was done, I cut lemongrass and Ba used it to flavor our tea, which the three of us drank before Kaki went to the temple. I spread out my silk coverlet and was admiring it again, when Mossy walked in. She looked at it and then at me. Her eyes grew wide. "For you?" "Yes." She turned to Ba. "Why do you indulge her so much?" Ba avoided looking at Mossy. "It's made from an old sari. Nothing fancy." "You call it nothing? You could trade that sari for some brass pots instead of wasting it." "Leela's Kaki made it," Ba said. Mossy shook her head. I never heard of a little girl who could make the whole family dance around her. Why don't you raise her the way girls are supposed to be raised? Our Ba only indulged our brothers, never us sisters." Then she turned to me. "Leelity, remember, if you climb up on the roof, you have to climb down too." I hated it. I hated when Mossy called me Leelity. It rhymed with Beelity, a cat. I was too happy to get upset, though. Besides, I wasn't going to walk into the trap she had set for me. She wanted me to say something sharp so she could prove I was spoiled. I smiled sweetly. "Mossy, why don't you make one for yourself? Then we can both talk about how soft our covers are." "I don't have expensive silk to waste," she said. Ba offered her popped barley and some sugar candy. Mossy didn't eat much of the popped barley, but she ate one piece of candy and took 2 pieces and tied them at the end of her sari. It seemed to pacify her. "I heard that Fat Soma and Pushpa were behaving very badly at the fair," Mossy said. I picked up the piece of candy. They were just holding hands. As soon as the words escaped my mouth, I was sorry. What if Mossy made a big thing out of it? I didn't want Fat Soma and Pushpa to get in trouble. "You saw them?" I pretended my mouth was stuffed with the candy and couldn't reply. Mossy looked at Ba. "They're young," Ba said. Mossy raised her eyebrows. "Yes, that's why they should show respect for their elders and not touch each other in broad daylight. Didn't you scold them?" I started saying, "But your Ba and I are talking. Don't interrupt. Besides, what do you know about such things?" Mossy said. "Go get me a glass of water." I wanted to listen to them talk, so I walked to the kitchen slowly. I picked up a brass dipper hanging on a nail, dunked it in the earthen pot, then emptied the dipper into a tumbler, listening hard the whole time. When I brought the water up to Mossy, she was whispering something to Ba. No wonder I couldn't hear what she was saying. When Mossy was done whispering, she took the tumbler from my hand and drank. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. "Will you do it?" she asked Ba. "Fat Soma and Pushpa are respectful and caring people," Ba said. "I'm not going to tell them." "I'd wish I'd seen them holding hands instead of you, sister. I'd have complained to Fat Soma's Ba." Mossy got up to leave as soon as Kaki returned. Mossy always turned sullen in Kaki's presence. Since Mossy was my mother's sister, and Kaki was my father's brother's wife, they were not related. Even I wasn't blood-related to Kaki. Mossy felt that I should love and respect her more than Kaki, since she was my mother's sister, but I couldn't. Kaki and I lived together, and she was like a second Ba to me. Kaki offered Mossy some candy and popped barley. Mossy didn't refuse. She took 2 more pieces of candy and a fistful of barley. "We'll see you tonight at the bonfire," she said. "Did you see the silk coverlet I made?" Kaki asked Mossy. "Yes, I did. It's very soft." While other women of Jamli treated Kaki with respect, Mossy complained to Ba about her. But Mossy was never rude to Kaki's face. Did she fear her? Or was it that deep down Mossy admired Kaki? Mossy wouldn't scold me in Kaki's presence. So I said, Mossy liked the coverlet so much that she might make one for herself. I turned to Mossy and added, "If you do, don't forget to show it to us." Mossy glared at me, but her mouth was shut tight. I wonder what made Kaki so special. Maybe it was the way she carried herself. Even when she had 3 pots of water stacked one on top of the other on her head, she walked tall and straight, her hands swinging by her sides, matching the stride of her feet. Or maybe it was the way she spoke, softly but firmly, that demanded to be heard. Kaki was not a tall woman, but her heart and mind were strong, and it came through in her steady gaze. Kaki never hesitated to punish me, or Kanubahai, if we misbehaved. If she hit your cheek with the backside of her palm, it would sting for hours. Luckily, she'd only scolded me, but she had hit Kanubahai once when he was 8, and had played a trick on his teacher. The afternoon melted into evening as I watched the blossoms of the Kasuda tree float softly to the ground. Ba said it was time to get ready. She oiled and combed my hair with a fine-toothed sandalwood comb, then braided it. I washed my face and neck. Just as I was done wiping my face, a group of boys, including Fat Soma, came up to the house asking for firewood. They had jute bags to carry the wood in. Kaki told them to take some wood from the shed behind Laka's hut. The boys' laughter filled the house for a few seconds. I never used to look at the boys who came in to gather the firewood, but today I watched them out of the corner of my eye as Kaki gave them each a fistful of popped barley and a piece of candy. I wanted them to linger a little longer, and I wished Raman Lal was here in town instead of away at college in Ahmedabad. Soon Kaka and Bapuji returned from the field and went to take their baths. I smoothed out their white dhotis so they wouldn't be wrinkled when they wrapped them around their waists. The dhotis Bapuji and Kaka wore to the farm were rough and thick, but the ones they wore to go out in were soft and fine. Laka milked the cows and the buffaloes early, and then it was time for all of us to go to the Ramji Mandir. Orange-red tongues of flame leaped from the large bonfire. I looked around. The faint light of dusk was smothered by the black smoke rings rising from the many fires round Jamli. The faces of people standing close to the firewood colored with its glow. In one corner, I saw two widows, their brown saris melting into the darkened shadows. There were many coconuts in the fire, and Fat Soma and the other boys removed the cooked ones with iron rods. Once they had cooled down, the boys cracked them open and gave us pieces to eat. We also had roasted yams and potatoes. The yams were sweet and smoky, and I ate 2 of them. Fat Soma's younger sister, Puri, waved me over. Puri had a small nose, but she could sniff out gossip from miles away. When I came close to her, she stood on her tiptoes and whispered, "Did you know Ramanlal is coming home soon?" Puri was 2 years younger than I was, and it was annoying that she knew things about Ramanlal before I did. So I told her I already knew. Who told you? Ramanlal? Ruri's mouth opened up, round as a well. Who told you? I asked. My brother. I wanted to ask Puri why Ramanlal was coming and how long he was staying. But I couldn't now. Puri had 3 older sisters and 1 brother, so she always knew what was going on in Jamli. Sometimes I wanted to pinch her hard for being all-knowing and all-wise. It wasn't a nice thought, and I never did it, but I wish I could. She put her hands on her waist and pouted. Who told you? The fire had shrunk and people were leaving. Ba called, Leela, Chalo, let's go. I ran to Ba without answering Puri. After dinner, Kaka asked me to bring his tanpura, a 1-string instrument. I got it from his room and gently carried it out. We sat on the floor of the chalk patio, and Kaka played music. We all took turns singing. This night was special, because the air was filled with smoky haze from the fires, and the full moon kept peeking in and out of the clouds. Our voices rose and rode on the breeze, and whispered to the kasuda tree, whose leaves fluttered in reply. All at once, a cold wind picked up. Where did this breeze come from? Kaka said. I snuggled up to Ba and tried to wrap part of her sari around me. Leela, you're shivering. Bapuji got up and brought me my blanket. Before I knew it, I had fallen asleep listening to Kaka's music and Laka's singing.